ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew, let me first give a double salute to PBC. Everybody who represent PBC. Everybody who represent the promotion. Everybody that represent their own promotional company by partnering with PBC to allow their fighters that they promote and or manage the opportunity to gain not just exposure on a pay-per-view card, but also work to be able to secure a payday for themselves and their families. So double salute to those that represent the business of boxing that had their hand in putting on this card. Double salute. This was a phenomenal card. Even the prelims. Yeah, I watched the prelims too. I'm a boxing fan first. Even the prelims that showed on YouTube for free before the actual pay-per-view card. Phenomenal card. From the prelims to the main event. Phenomenal. Awesome. These are the type of fights we want to see. These are the type of fighters that we want to see compete against each other. All of the fights were intriguing, interesting, and action-packed. And I'm proud, as a representation of the business of boxing, I'm proud to say that I was thoroughly impressed, again, as always, but also I was proud to say that I represent the business of boxing last night. Because I believe we all got our money's worth and we all got our time's worth. So double salute to everybody that had their hand behind the scenes and putting this card together. All managers and boxers, all managers and promoters, the production crew over there at Amazon, phenomenal job. The production value was 100%. The commentators, 100%. And I'm usually critical of some commentators. Everybody did a phenomenal job. But I can't double salute them without double saluting all of the fighters too. So double salute to all the fighters. Double salute to David Morrell. Yeah, I said that I thought that he would lose this fight. And I told some of you why. But let me tell you, David Morrell, he won a lot of fans last night. And I hope some of you that do not know too much about him, that watched this fight or wasn't a fan of his before, that you follow this young man, that you become a fan of David Morrell, that you support David Morrell. He did a good job last night, considering all the circumstances. He stood in the fire. And I thought that he would be more on his pivot. He would be more on the balls of his feet when he wanted to be elusive. But David Morrell stood in that fire and went toe-to-toe with a monster. And usually when you scared of monsters, you hide under the covers, you duck, or you run. And David Morrell did not do any of those three things last night. He stood right there in the pocket and he let David Benavidez earn his respect. He let him earn his respect. He commanded David Benavidez to earn his respect. Believe that. Believe that. He made David Benavidez work. But not only that, he worked. I mean, there's not too many fights we can say that we saw David Benavidez get hit those many times and look the way he did as far as the damage that was done on his face after this fight. David Benavidez got knocked down officially for the second time in his career by David Morrell. Now, no, he did not land a punch flush on his head, face, or inside of the scoring zone, in my personal opinion, but that's neither here nor there. David Benavidez was trying to throw a punch and got caught with a punch behind his arm, but he went down. It's a knockdown. He wasn't hurt, but he did get knocked down. And the only person right now that we know that could do that to David Benavidez was Morel, and he did that. He took some big shots in that fight last night. And most people don't stand up firm and tall and have the fortitude to even go to 4-12 rounds under that type of not just pressure, but under the litany of punches that they had to absorb when they fight David Benavidez. But David Morrell did. And he came to fight. And he didn't lay down for David Benavidez. The whole 12 rounds, no matter how many points we saw that he, was down by in this fight, how many rounds he was down by on our own, invisible scorecards. But guess what? David Morrell, he stood up against the Mexican monster, and he closed the show out with a knockdown in the 11th round. So double salute to David Morrell. Not only did he win a lot of fans last night by being exposed on pay-per-view and before a live sold-out crowd, but David Morrell, even though he lost, he just entered the sweepstakes to go to the next level in boxing. And I believe that David Morrell, with only 11, well, at this point, 12 now, professional fights, he will become a world champion very soon. I believe that. He will be a world champion. Now, double salute to David Benavidez. David Benavidez showed so much poise in this fight because he's used to going in there, knocking his opponents down and or TKOing them. But he had to remain patient. And he had to continue to stick to his game plan even when his opponent took his best shots and still was standing right in front of him. So psychologically, that affects some fighters where they're used to getting TKOs and knockdowns and knockouts. And then they get in there with an opponent that take their best Sunday punch, eat it for lunch, and be like, okay, I won seconds. But David Benavidez was poised. David Benavidez showed good defense, when he kept his hands up to block. The earmuffs is what Teddy Atlas calls it. That obviously reduce the effect of the punches that were thrown by Morrell, because he didn't land a lot of those punches when David Benavidez was protecting himself. David Benavidez did good counterpunching, like I told you he would. That's his strength. He's a good counterpuncher. Most people don't give him credit for it because they overlook it, but he's a good counterpuncher. He did a lot of counterpunching last night. Good job. He went to the body. He mixed the attack up. So did David Morrell. So David Morrell get credit for that too. Mixing the both of them were mixing up the punches, head, body, head. The uppercut kept landing flush for David Benavidez. It landed flush a few times for Morrell. This was a seesaw battle. Even though we saw, as time progressed, the rounds progressed, even from the opening bell, we saw the difference in experience level and we saw the difference in talent. We saw how David Benavidez was basically like closing the show out like, okay, we see that he's going to win. But it was a good, action-packed fight. Good, action-packed fight. And we can't wait to see what's next for both of these guys. And I say that because we can't just assume that the next fight we're going to see David Benavidez in is the winner of Bivol against Bivol and Bitterbeef. We can't say that. We don't know yet. I mean, that fight is happening in a couple of weeks. But if Bivol beat Bitterbeef in this rematch, they might try to push for a rubber match, a third fight before fighting Benavidez to get another big payday in a trilogy. We don't know that yet. We don't know if Benavidez is going to fight someone in between that time. I would hope he would, with a good promoter in Samson Lukowicz that he has. But we don't know that. But we do know that whoever wins that fight against David Benavidez, that's going to be a, man, Bivol or Beterbiev fighting Benavidez. Classic, instant classic. But man, double salute to both of these athletes. They did a tremendous job. They let it all hang out last night. They left it all in the ring. They left it all on the line. And these are the type of fights we want to see. And sometimes these fights be close where you can't have a definitive winner without the controversy. But guess what? The entertainment value in it, the back and forth, the highs and lows. This is the type of fights that we've been yearning to see. And these are the type of fighters that we pay and are willing to pay to see compete against each other. So we shall see what happens next, but I'm thoroughly impressed with both of these guys. And I have to leave you all with this before we go. I did not see any bumps on neither two of these guys' backs. And I told y'all about a phone booth I was going to watch for it, like I always do. Oh, man, I love this sport of boxing. But no, I didn't see. But I'm looking forward to seeing what's next with both of these guys, particularly more so Morel. I don't think he should go into the back of the line. He lost against a great fighter, a more experienced and a more talented fighter last night. And he stood his ground and he maintained poise and even landed some good shots. And he came to fight and he came to win. And he was able to endure for the entire 12 rounds. So we can't look at him and say, oh, he lost, on to the next one. Because I believe he is the light heavyweight version of an Isaac Cruz after last night. And we know Isaac Cruz now. We'll get to him in a minute in the next video. But Isaac Cruz, you see he's on card after card after card. Win, lose, or draw, right? Because even though he lost a fight against Tank, and even though he lost his title, guess what? He won fans. And he keep winning fans, and he keep being impressive. And that's what give him those opportunities. Of course, he has a fan base. Don't let me just hype him up too much and say that he's just that talented and he don't have a fan base. No, he's that talented, but he also have a fan base. And I think that's who David Morrell will be moving forward after his exposure on pay-per-view and losing to a great fighter in David Benavidez. Man, I'm doing way too much talking. Don't take my word for it.